This is Las Vegas Real Estate Now, where we bring you the 3 E's: educate, empower, and engage. I'm your host, Harvey Blankfeld, and we've been selling homes here in Southern Nevada since 1988. We're also very proud to be part of the Real Estate Radio Network. That is a national network of local real estate professionals delivering timely, balanced truths about local market conditions. We're going to talk now with Darren Welsh, and Darren is our corporate counsel at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. Welcome back, Darren.
Thanks for having me.
Glad to have you back. You know, one of the things that just came up recently in one of my transactions, and you know, one of the great things about Darren is for us guys at Berkshire is that we can contact Darren with any of our questions about how to handle a certain situation. I had a situation come up recently where I had a buyer who was involved in a contract, did his home inspection, and discovered, the home inspection typically comes back with about 20 or 30 things, and this one was typical. Came back nothing major except for a couple things. There was a leak under a sink, and there was some roof tiles that needed some work, and then there was this window. And the window would not open. And the inspector said, gee, I could start the slide, but I was afraid to move it any further. I thought I might break it, so I didn't want to do any further. It requires further evaluation and probably some repair or replacement. So the client and I submitted a request of repairs to the seller. The seller kindly rejected them, said, no, I'm not fixing any of that. Does the seller at that point, and this is the big question I've always had, does the seller at that point and or the listing agent have some obligation, should they not consummate this deal, to disclose that to the next buyer?
They do.
Okay.
So in Nevada, residential real estate, which is different than commercial, but residential is completely different. Mm-hmm. That's where the majority of the sales are in the valley. Yeah. If you look at the county recorder. And, we have specific rules that a seller must disclose what they're aware of, a defect that they're aware of. And so what can happen in an escrow is that something is discovered during escrow. And that is what, you want that information, but at the same time, it becomes very interesting because the seller really can never be blamed for not having disclosed that at the time, because all they'll say is, well, I wasn't aware of it. If you discover a defect during escrow, it is like black and white.
Right.
It is completely different than discovering after close of escrow. So in your scenario, that seller really has no liability. And the buyer says, fix the window, and the seller says, I don't want to fix it. The buyer can take it or leave it. The only power that a buyer has under NRS 113, which is the disclosure statute in Nevada, is walk away.
Right.
And a lot of buyers don't want to hear that.
Right.
Because they're in love with the house already. I mean, if this isn't a rental property, that means you're putting your family into it.
Right.
And, there's a lot of emotion that goes into purchasing property. So a lot of buyers just have to take it. Now, if that buyer says, look, I can't handle that, I want you to make that repair, and you're not going to make it, I'm canceling. Now that seller has a problem.
Right.
And they are aware, pursuant to the statute and pursuant to the case law, which is the case is called Nelson. And it concerned a Mount Charleston cabin.
Okay.
And we learned the rules that, if it's broken and you're aware of it, you need to disclose it. And so even though the seller wasn't aware, allegedly,
prior
a month ago,
right.
Now that's inspection.
Yeah.
So there's
now the seller's aware, the listing agent's aware, the inspector's aware, the buyer's aware, the buyer's agent's aware. Everybody's aware now.
So the seller and the listing agent both have separate duties under separate laws.
Right.
The standard of care is a little bit different for a real estate agent, but it is a problem now for that seller. And that's why, escrows that come and go and cancel and you're on your third buyer.
Yeah.
It can be a problem. And the best advice I give people is get a copy of whatever inspections that were taken and get them to subsequent purchaser. We have a unique statute in Nevada that if a seller is proven in a court of law that they were aware of something and they did not disclose it, and the standard isn't, it doesn't have to be intentional.
Right.
It doesn't have to be with bad faith, etc.
Right.
You can just accidentally do it. So it's a really low standard.
Right.
But if you're aware of something, you didn't disclose it, even if you mistakenly didn't disclose it.
Right.
3 times the cost of repair.
You've been listening to Las Vegas Real Estate Now with host Harvey Blankfeld. Please tune in every Saturday at 11 a.m. right here on News Talk 720 KDWN.